Well, for the most part, the fans and the community associated with Paperhouse that has nothing to do with the music side, strictly the listener side, those people have been very respectful. You know, I mean, we've had people run the door for us who don't live here or have no connection to the bands really whatsoever. They're just happy to do it because they love seeing us do what we're doing.
It's cool, the relationship between the artists and the musicians in the house, because the artists reside here. The painters, the people drawing philosophy all over the walls, like these people inhabit this place. They stay here, and they kind of bring us into their space, and they're super, super appreciative of what we do because they're artists. They get it, and they don't do what we do, and we don't do what they do. So we come in, we appreciate all of this art, we're constantly looking at it, like we don't know who it belongs to because no one signs their names to anything. And we just come down in their basement and play music and appreciate it, and there's never a bad show here because there's at least 10 people that live upstairs that will come down and appreciate what you're doing. Just because the people that live here are engulfed in this. It's all art all the time.
I think that the fans and the community at large here get to feel that same feeling of love and chaos and freedom that comes. They get to become one with the scene, one with the Paperhouse itself, be it through writing on the walls, painting, creating music here. I feel that all those things the Paperhouse gives to people, if they're willing to give it to it.
The first time I ever came here, I think Devin heard that I was a photographer, and he was instantly giving me areas in like this basement to shoot at where I could be safe and be able to create how I want.
I definitely feel like the fact that there's so many different reasons why people just end up here really like adds to the diversity. Like it's not just like, oh, people that go to shows are coming to a show. It's like there's those people, and then people just coming to party, people that just know people that just know the place to hang out. Like, and in the end, it's all just people having fun.
I think people actually like do respect and like dig. Like when they're like, yeah, I want to see good music. I'd pay to see good music. Hell yeah! Like I don't give a fuck if somebody else does or if it's a donation. I'll give a buck. Like I can spare that.
It gives people a place to go, and it gives bands a place to go, and it's a place to go where people are actually very receptive to what you're doing. People really like being here to like see music, to hang out with friends, to have a good time, and they know that that's going to happen at the Paperhouse because there's art all over the walls and everybody is always showing up.
How do I feel about the love that I get? I don't think it's for me. I think it's for us, and I think it gets shown to everybody else other than us, and that's good. And I think it reciprocates throughout the place, just because this is one of those places that everybody knows. If you're not into loving one another, regardless if you're a band to band, fan to band, fan to fan, person to person, whatever, you're probably not welcome. If that's weird, but everybody is welcome. But that's, you know,
if you're not welcoming, then you're not welcome.
Yeah, you know, and you should know that. I don't know. It's great. It makes me feel amazing, and it's a very unique feeling. It's not something that I take for granted.
I think that the community at the Paperhouse can find something, be it an opportunity to make a friend or make art or to see a good show, have a good time. Some people just come to party. So I think that everyone's having a party, but some people just want to party, and I think that creates a really healthy environment where people are just allowed to do whatever the chaos brings for them.
I mean, yeah, there's a stage here and there's all this stuff set up, but if we didn't have the people to kind of spread the word through classic word of mouth, then it obviously wouldn't go anywhere. You know, the shows would be to 2 people. We would try to figure out a better way to specifically for us get our music out there, and we wouldn't have even have worried about it. But it's just been so successful since day one and continually growing that, yeah.
Well, this place is crazy too because this place I feel like isn't so much of a social media based place. People they're not verbal about being, oh, I'm going online. They're gonna come. There's not really any extra. There's no extra like frillies to this place. It's just you're gonna show up.
I've never RSVP'd to come here.
No, never. Like everybody just shows up.
You don't post the address anywhere.
No.
Nor in public.
You can't. Yeah, it just says ask a punk.
I've met people from many different backgrounds here. Some people are coming to paint, some people are coming to play shows, some people are just like they've never been somewhere like this before. So I don't know. It's interesting that aspect.
I feel like here is always like a different vibe of different like creative artists and stuff. Like most other shows that I go to, it's usually just like photographers, but here there's always like like physical like paints, different mediums of different art rather than just digital.
It's awesome. It's amazing, and it really adds to the vibe. There's always something new.
Yeah, visual art is cool. That's I don't know a lot about visual art.
Visual art is fucking tight.
You can see that it's not your typical house show because as soon as you walk in, there's drawings all over the walls, and it looks like just like a bomb went off, like a creative bomb went off, and that kind of sets the tone for the whole Paperhouse. Like people that show up and the bands and the whole vibe.
One of my favorite things about coming here is when you're just walking from the sidewalk and you can see like kids just sitting on the roof smoking cigarettes. That's something you don't see everywhere, but it's like a staple of the image that I see this place, I suppose.
The reason that the Paperhouse has gotten, for better or worse, the reputation that it has is because of the crowds that come out of certain bills. People talk about all these legendary shows that happen here, and honestly, for the most part, those shows would not have been nearly as legendary if it wasn't for the people who cram themselves into the little space. Because when you have that many people in a confined space, everybody's, on the lookout. It really heightens your senses, being really close to somebody, and then you get slammed by the music, and I don't know, it's very overwhelming, and it could very easily go sour at any moment. I think it's totally exciting, but the reason that it is exciting is because there are so many people who come to these shows and cram out the basement.
The Paperhouse gives a lot of opportunities to people to make their art, to make friendships. The Paperhouse is about what you put into it. It gives it back to you.
Well, when I first, and it's a little bit more diverse now, but when we first started playing here, I think the most unique thing that I noticed about the crowds at the Paperhouse is they don't mosh like our typical crowds do. They don't head bob, they dance. And I think that was primarily started mostly through Harper's Jar as a band. Their music is very, very dancey, and they're artistic people. They flow. They're, that's kind of just their zen. And that's what I first noticed when they came here is they didn't necessarily, I don't know if they knew really how to react to us because we weren't a dancey band, but every time that they were watching a band, they were dancing. And that was so different than anything I'd ever seen, and I instantly fell in love with that. I thought that was so cool.
A lot of diversity in the shows that we play, at least as far as who comes out to see it. And with playing Till Day Fest, where there were, I don't have any idea how many people here, but so many that you kind of get different type of every person. It's a cool place to be.
Wow, this is a place where it doesn't matter. You can act how you want to act, you can be how you want to be. It's just by looking at the walls and going upstairs or going downstairs in this crazy dungeon of a basement, it's I don't know, it opens you up to this is gonna be a fun night rather than going to a house show and it's take off your shoes before you come in. We cannot get dirt on this carpet. It's like, okay, like, bring the mud in here, like, let's have a mud party.
The community knows that they can rely on one another, so it really creates something special. Even new people, they come in, they see how it is, they can get that feeling and go with that feeling.
When I'm on tour and I see a band that I really like, I tell them to come to Minneapolis and play the Paperhouse because I know we can give them a good time.
I know personally, if I've only seen this band play once here and I liked them, I'll buy a shirt. I'll buy something that I can, something that I like from them. And I feel like a lot of other people do that too. I've definitely seen a lot of people be like, hey, just saw you for the first time. You guys were sick. Can I buy a shirt?
I don't know. I like the idea of give what you can, but also people take advantage of that, so making it flat is I mean, it is what it is.
But there's a lot of people who give extra, though.
That's true, and people have done that since the beginning. Like people who, like, friends of mine would come, or like friends of ours would come and be like, you don't have to pay, like, just go inside. They'd be like, no, here's like $3, here's $4, like, here's $1, like, I'm glad you guys have it, like, thank you for letting me hang out here, like, you don't have to pay us for that.
And it's crazy too because usually they'll just post like a random. It's usually like $5 or something, and it's always a suggested donation. It's never something that you have to pay to be here because everybody knows it's a free for all space. There's 3 ways to get in this freaking house. Like, you can't enforce the door. You can get in if you want to get in to see this music, but we still end up. I mean, they still. People want to donate. They want to give to these bands and the artists and the house itself. So we usually, the bands here do end up making off pretty well when we have a big show, and that's great for touring bands when they come through, is we can give them something. So the Paperhouse really, really gives back, even though it's just a free space.
The community gives back a lot to the touring bands when it's asked, to bring a donation. People bring it. Sometimes they bring more. People usually, if they like, the community is able to find something here.
So often people will give more than the $5 cover at this point. Like, they'll lay it out there for people. Which is why I think a lot of touring bands have had good experiences here. Because there is an influx of people who will go beyond, the expected thing of just listening and paying attention. They'll pay money for merchandise. They'll donate at the door. They'll talk to the band member for 10 minutes. They'll give them a place to sleep. They'll recommend them a place for food. I mean, yeah, it's extended from our hand to their hand via those people.
I like when touring bands bring stuff. Winston has, like, a ton of stickers and has stuff from, like, the past, like, maybe 10 or 15 bands, or not 10, like 10 bands that have come through, just of all their merch. And, like, a lot of the times, like I have a couple CDs from people who are like, hey, thanks for letting us play here. And it's like, hell yeah, dude. And they're like, here, just take a CD, like, check it out.
Do y'all remember the first time we had a big angry mosh pit here?
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. This was probably the first place we ever had, like, a big
When was this?
crowd reaction. Probably, a year ago? Maybe less. But yeah, there was enough people in to really get something going, and we don't have necessarily a lot of the stuff that we're playing now recorded. So that was just more or less based off of either people who had come to enough shows to know us, or were just feeling what we were doing.
I remember the first one. It was when we came back from the it was the Harper's Jar Inlu tour in November. We did just the 3 of us.
Oh, yeah.
And we came back, and that was like, it really went off for us for the first time.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think I was here for that.
Yeah, you were.
Probably.
I'd be offended if you weren't.
I think the community loves the Paperhouse so much because the Paperhouse gives them opportunities that they would not normally find anywhere else. The typical house show, you go, you see the bands, you shoot the shit with a couple people, and then you leave hopefully moderately amused. But here, anything can happen. Multiple times we'll allow people to just get on stage and jam and just to play together. We have those events where people can paint, that are paint centered, where people can paint all over the house and make pictures for each other. We'll spend the money and we'll give them the supplies to do it. They don't normally get that chance. People don't. I don't think I've ever been given that chance ever.